when I talk.
Okay, doesn't sound like an echo to me.
Oh, okay. That sounds better.
Okay. Well, I stayed in all weekend. I binge watched She's Gotta Have It on Netflix.
Really? How'd you like it?
I enjoyed it. Yeah.
Check that out. Let me add that to my list of things to do.
Yeah, and Greenleaf.
Oh, I never heard of that one.
Yeah, that's an Oprah production about a mega pastor and the drama going on in his family and the church. And I enjoyed that one too.
Have you seen Queen Sugar?
I have not, because I don't have OWN.
Oh, it's not on demand or something like that?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
I love that show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I keep hearing good things about it.
I love that show.
I may have to get the channel.
The black women have so many layers. It's like talking to somebody you actually know as opposed to these stereotypes of us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I was out late Friday evening shopping, trying to get everything that I needed so that I would not have to come out of the house on Saturday or Sunday. So that's what I did.
Well, you want to get started?
Well, let's see. Nicole is running late, right? Let's give Leonie, I guess, a couple more minutes because I haven't heard anything from her. Let me look over here at our page and see messages. So I guess that means she's on her way, but of course, I don't know if she's still in California. You know, last week there was a mix-up with the time, so maybe we shouldn't wait too long. How was your nephew?
Oh, it's hard. It's like he's recovering, but it's hard because it's like the same version of him, but he's sped up. You know, it's like his mind is going so fast that he's going so fast.
Mm-hmm.
So it's different.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's different. It's supposed to be something at Brick tomorrow on mental illness. I'm trying to see if I'm going to come out of my house.
Oh.
Yeah, they haven't something on the civil rights for mental illness. I'd like to go, but come walking home at night over here with these rats.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, now I hear myself echoing.
Let me turn my. Okay, I think I was up too loud. No, I still hear the echo. Maybe I'll come out and come back in. It's like a delay.
Okay. Huh?
Okay, I'm gonna come out. I'll call back up. Hey.
Hey.
That sounds better.
Okay.
Well, that's better.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
I do.
Okay.
I do. Well, it's 5:05. So maybe we should go ahead. Maybe we should go ahead because I don't see any messages from Leonie. So, you know, I never know what that means. So yeah,
Well,
so it's
okay. I can send her a message via Facebook because she responded to it the last time.
okay.
Let's do that. Let's just take a second. Hello. All right. That was quick and easy. You know, I had my eyes dilated today, so it's still hard to read. Oh, that's not good. Okay. So, welcome. Do you want to do the welcome, Michelle?
No, go ahead.
You do it so well.
I've had plenty of chances.
Well, welcome to the Global Black Feminist Reading Circle Session 9. Today we are reading from the Crunk Feminist Collection, and we're reading Sisterhood. She's not heavy, she's my sister. And next week we are going to have Nicole Jackson Wilson as our facilitator. So why don't I start by introducing myself? Hello, I am Kim Brandon, and I'm in New York, and I'm the facilitator for tonight. Who else do we have, Michelle, on the call tonight?
Hi, everybody. I am Michelle Odom in New York with the book, and glad to be here. Welcome.
Thank you. So, we are reading from I think 6 or 7 chapters of us posts, and I'll start by reading the summary. And this was taken right from the text. Sisterhood has been a core tenet to Crunk feminism. We have always been very interested in how women understand themselves and one another. As a feminist collective founded in the tradition of the Kambahi River Collective and other feminist organizations, we've been focused on our relationships with each other above all else. And this interest has spilled over into the blog, into a whole host of important ways. Over the years, we have covered virtually every aspect of sisterhood, from calling the names of our marginalized sisters to celebrating the relationships between women, to calling out sisters who don't do right by one another. We reject the lie that sisterhood is dead. Sisterhood is powerful. Long live sisterhood. I love that paragraph. That's why I kind of just borrowed it. And the contributors for this section was Chanel Craft Tanner, Brittney C. Cooper, Robin M. Boylorn, and Susana M. Morris. And so I guess I'll start with the first question, if that's okay.
Okay.
All right. So the first section is a section on that was written by Chanel Craft Tanner that reminds us of the Antoine Dodson video that created an internet sensation while shifting the focus off the criminal act against a black woman. Do women of color need invisibility cloaks? Why or why not? What else might be lost in the remix of this story?
Well,
Did you want to start, Michelle?
What would an invisibility cloak do? Because we're already invisible. So what would a cloak do? Make us more visible?
More invisible.
More invisible. I don't know.
So I guess your answer is no.
Yeah, my answer would be no, and I would say because we're already invisible to a large degree. And so, so I don't think we need any more. I'm thinking about this this thing that I posted recently. Did you see it? Of a Asian man who has created this cloth that makes people invisible.
No.
So he holds up the cloth in front of him and you can't see him.
Really?
Yeah, it's on my page. And you can kind of see like the border of the top of where the cloth is, but he turns all around and
wow.
It's pretty scary. It's scary if you have a mind like mine. I guess some other people would be thinking of wonderful uses for it. But I just think of all the dastardly deeds that could be done with this ability to make oneself invisible. So I'm saying no to the cloaks. Black women are invisible enough. And, I guess the thing about being visible is that we imagine if we are seen, that our humanity will be recognized, our needs will be recognized, our pain, our feelings will all be recognized, and that in that recognition, some of the things that happen to us, people won't be able to do because they will recognize are dealing with another human being who has thoughts and feelings and needs and all of that. So I don't know, I mean, I get the desire. I don't know how realistic I think it is. I mean, I think that some people do horrible things to Black women and to other people as well, knowing full well that they're human, with all that implies. And they do it anyway for various and complex reasons. So, however, I do think that being essentially invisible means that problems don't get recognized, and without recognition, they certainly don't get solved. So, for example, we're hearing a lot of white women these days talking about their experiences with sexual assault, and you know, not that they haven't talked about it for a long time, and I'm not sure what I think really is the reason that these revelations are getting the kind of media attention and getting the kind of employer responses that they've been getting. But certainly, you know, Black women for a very long time, and Anita Hill is the you know, an example that for me right now. But Black women have been complaining about this kind of thing for a very long time without the reaction, without the recognition, without the acknowledgement, without the accountability that we're seeing play out now, where primarily white women are concerned. So, okay, so I'm only rambling since it's just the two of us and we don't have to time ourselves. But that's my answer to the first part. And what else might be lost in the remix of this news story? Well, I mean, I think that's it. The trauma, the fear, the insecurity, you know, all of whatever Kelly Dodson experienced waking up to an intruder, you know, in her home. We don't focus on that, and we don't, you know, we don't have any compassion for it. We don't have any knowledge of it. And we're certainly not solving any problems around it. So.
Oh, thank you. Well, I agree. I think that in this odd way that we are invisible in terms of being ignored. But I think that in terms of being scapegoated and the ratchet running amok sisters, you know, they need an invisibility cloak right now. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna get a couple. I could think of two people that I could put a cloak around. But yeah, I think that we are invisible, and that where and how do we make ourselves visible is the question. I don't think that waiting for somebody to see you is the answer. You know, so I like that you were just saying when we're seen. And the second part of the question, which I agree that it took away the that happened to Kelly, but the thing also that was disappointing for me is that her brother came to her rescue, and that was made into some sort of joke or some sort of backbeat to a dance to dance off of. When I just thought it was so heroic to see that brother stand up for his sister and protect his sister, because I need to see us protected. I need to see stories where we have been successfully protected, and that was the thing that I found missing in the retelling and the remixing. And I'm noticing now that if you look at YouTube, this is like a fad, that if you see African American stories, then somebody makes a something. It's common, and I didn't know how common. I just thought every year or something, one of these happens. But it's not. It's like somebody is still riding our coattails.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So.
Well, since it's just the two of us and we have a little extra time, let me read on page 276. Actually starts on 275, the letter that Chanel Craft Tanner wrote to the sister, Kelly Dodson, to show what it would look like to center Kelly's story instead of centering her brother's story.
Right.
Dear Kelly, know that in these conversations about this internet sensation, you are missing. We know that when they're jamming to the music, they aren't thinking about you. We know that you were never central, not in the original news story, not in the song, and not now. All of this has been about trivializing your brother's anger, characterizing as emotions running high instead of emotions running normal for someone who, remember, was attacked. The creativity of these white boys, a group that has always profited off the abuse of Black women, and the power and creative force of technology, well, the Crunk Feminist Collective says about you. We are sorry that this happened to you. We are sorry that when you should have been at peace in your home, you were attacked. We are sorry and angry that your little girl had to be present for that. We are sorry that you no longer feel safe in your own home. We are grateful that you had someone home to help you, and we are sorry that this is happening to your story. We want to center you. We want this moment to be used to talk about the realities of our communities as spaces of vulnerability and danger for women of color. We want to remember you as we work to build the communities we want to see. Because let's be real, we have learned to make do, but our neighborhoods are often scary as shit. We live in a state of violence that is so common that people can sing along to it.
Mm.
We understand that you live in a community like many of ours, one that is so far lacking in social safety nets that your brother had to envision a mechanism of accountability that would hold up regardless of a response from a police state that more often than not disregards violence done on the bodies of Black women. We completely understand the realities that would make your brother tell your attacker, you don't have to confess, we're looking for you. We're going to find you. And when he does, that he's going to beat his ass and then call the police while I beat his ass because I want you to feel what you made my sister feel.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't think his or your anger is comedic. And we keep his statements in mind as we attempt to build an anti-violence movement that doesn't combat violence with violence while recognizing the difficulty of doing so. From this on, when we hear the Bed Intruder song, we will force ourselves to center you. And we will think about where we stand in our anti-violence movement. We will dedicate a moment of silence to making a safe world for women and girls like you and your daughter. We want to let you know that this is not okay, and we are fed the fuck up. So none of that comes out in the Bed Intruder song. So I love that they wrote that letter, though. I like that one.
Yeah. Okay. So let's move on. Do you want to read number 2?
Okay. While there was this is a quote. While there was a repetition of pain fostered in an inability to not break, resisting or embracing strong Black womanhood stereotypes, ambivalence about love, relationships, life, witnessing loveless partnership, experiencing passionless sex, fearing forced celibacy and loneliness, the inner workings of incest, uses for anger, shared secrets, abandonment, mama and daddy issues, and depression. The stories and books we read contain declarations of joy. It just wasn't sitting out in the open on the page. I still believe in Black women and friendship. For when we are in a healthy and loving place, it is Black women who are my air, who give me space to be, and who breathe life into me when others would suffocate me into silence. And that is from the blog post, The Joys of Being a Woman by Robin Boylorn, The Joys of Being a Black Woman. And question that has 2 questions. Please name a book written for or about Black women where the joy leaps up and off the page. And 2, can you recall a moment with one or more sister friends where Black woman joy was shared and it filled your cup to a point where it was slipping over? Remember, give from the overflow, not from the cup. Quote from Ayanla Van Zandt. Well, I answered first last time. It's your turn.
Okay. That's how you want to roll?
That's how I want to roll.
I love this book. Where are you? I love this book, Sugar, by Bernice McFadden.
Oh,
And it's the story of these 2 women, and one woman has this dicey past, and then the other one is this mother who has just gone through way too much. And when the dicey one moves next door, she makes her money off of selling herself. And the 2 women help each other in a way that is just so beautiful, that you see this budding friendship. And it was just beautiful to see that despite what people saw when they looked at these 2 women, they really both grew from knowing each other. So my pick would be Sugar.
Mm.
And then the second part of the question is, I remember reading somewhere, and this is not joy. This is just sisterhood. I remember reading, and I hope I don't quote this wrong. I think it was about Toni Morrison, where she had a huge loss. I don't know if she lost a child or what have you, but she was inconsolable, and she went to sleep. And when she woke up, some sister friend had come and cleaned her house and mopped her floors and left fresh fruit for her to eat. And I just never get over that feeling that. And then I think they just left the note saying no words. That there are no words. And so that's the love and kindness that I don't think you can get from anybody but a sister. you know, that somebody will come and help you wash your hair or cut your nails or do whatever you need to do when you have been down too long. And that's the joy of being in sister circles for me, is that I know people who will do these things if I happen to meet them, which, you know, and even my sister, I mean, you know, my actual sister, you know, to be able to lean on her when I can't hold myself up. So that's one of the things I love about being an African American woman. There's a soul to us that resonates and mirrors back to us from other women, other Black women.
Interesting. Well, I don't have any actual sisters. So that has always been like a hole. You know, I have felt like there was a hole, but there have been girls and women who have been as close to me probably as any sister could be. So, you know, I have filled it in different ways, but I remember I'm 10 years older than my baby brother, and I just prayed. I just was praying that he was going to be a girl, because I already had two brothers. And and then when he was born, he was not a girl. And this was the days before you knew what the child was going to be, before they got here. He was not a girl, but he was just so cute. Aww. That I just fell in love with him. You know, but it's different than having a sister. So I have consciously sought to kind of fill that place in my life, including with the women that I encounter here in our group. But if I'm thinking about a moment with one or more sister friends where Black woman joy was shared and it filled your cup to a point where it was flipping over, the experience that really first comes to mind for me is I was a participant in the mother tongue monologues by Black Women's Blueprint. I think this was 2014, maybe. I don't know. The years just all run together for me. But they pick a different, you know, it's somewhat patterned after the vagina monologue, you know, which is real women talking about real things going on in their lives. And so the mother tongue monologues are Black women talking about real things going on in their lives. And so they have a different theme to those presentations every year that they do it. And the year that I was involved, the theme was sexual violence. And so they had a variety of things. They had real survivors of sexual violence who told their stories. They had some readings, some performances. I'm trying to remember where it was held. I think it was at the Brooklyn Museum. So there was a large audience there, but they had taken several months in advance of the performance to work to do like some group counseling with the survivors. And so there was that experience of getting to know that group of women, and then, you know, and all the fears that we all had about publicly talking about our story, and, you know, and then we did it, and it was wonderful. So that was a joyful experience. In terms of a book, I can barely remember anything I've ever read. But for this question, leaps up and off the page, the thing that leaped up for me was the color purple. And, you know, when, after all the Miss Celie has been through, you know, when she finally gets down to the end and she's reunited with her sister, and, you know, find some love in her life, and, you know, find some independence in her life. That to me is a good example of where the joy, you know, first there's this long period of pain, and then ultimately the joy leaps off the page. Yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned the color purple. Yeah. But that was a lot of pain.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was a lot of pain. So, but pain that, you know, that it was such a controversial book. But from my perspective, as growing up in a family with one girl and three boys, you know, when who was Oprah's character, when she said, "Well, girl ain't safe in a house full of men folks."
Sophia.
Sophia, yes. You know, that it was a lot of pain, but, you know, it was real for a lot of people, especially in the era that it's set, the place and time that it's set. You know, I posted this video recently of some folk down in Alabama talking about why they were supporting this Moore fellow. And, you know, and they were like, well, you know, 30, 40 years ago, a 13-year-old girl could get married.
Oh, God.
And, you know, and it wasn't a terrible thing. So even if he did do what he's accused of doing, that's how we did it back then. So, you know, so as much as the color purple brought out this reaction in a lot of men that you know, that Alice Walker is just man bashing and man hating, and, you know, making stuff up. You know, really for a lot of people, Black and white. You know, human beings have gone through some periods of time where we would do things to each other that, you know, today are pretty unbelievable. And and unimaginable. But we've been there and we've done that. So to me, Alice Walker in that book is just, you know, reflecting a particular time and space where girls really were just property. White girls, black girls, you know, girls were just property. And you really could do pretty much whatever you wanted to do to them. You know, and so when we talk now about, you know, making America great again or going back to another era, you know, you really have to wonder, well which, you know, which piece of that past do we really want to recapture? Because a lot of it for a lot of people was just ugly and painful, without joy.
It's funny when I hear that statement, let's make America great again. I want to say, for who, at whose expense? And that's what I always feel. I always feel like, yeah, you want to go back to getting away from the browning of America, you know, and you want to do it at any expense. So I think there were times in America where things were more idealistic and simple. But boy, you pull back the veil and it was always there.
Right.
Always there.
Right.
It was just something else. Oh, that when you look at 1 in every 3 women have been assaulted or abused in some way, shape, or form, that means at least 1 in every 3 men has victimized somebody. And then there are women who are abusers too. So let me not say that there aren't women who are abusing other women and boys too. So there's a whole lot of abuse going out there, and the goal is for the victims not to talk about it. So I'm just amazed. I would just love to understand more of what this actually is, what all of this blind sexual power is at the expense of so many innocent people, because it's just a, I don't know if it's a part of the society. I don't know. I just don't. I would love to explore it more. You know, to try to understand what the beast is.
Sorry. The time zones are killing me.
Hi, Leonie.
Hello.
You're still in Cali?
I'm still in Cali.
Okay.
Yeah. Really struggling. I'm also incredibly tired because I keep waking up in the wee hours of the morning because my body thinks it's wake up time.
Wow, well, welcome.
Okay.
Welcome.
Yes, thank you.
So we are up to question number 3, which I can read.
Well, why don't we have Leonie introduce herself?
Oh, yes, certainly. Pardon me.
Sorry, what was that?
Do your introduction.
Oh, okay. Yes. Hello, everybody. Sorry for my late arrival. My name is Leonie Smith, And I'm originally from Toronto, Ontario, Canada, joining you today from Alameda Island in California.
Right.
All right. All right, cool. Did I ever tell you I was born in California?
Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah.
Oh,
Story for another day.
All right.
all right. Number 3. Ooh, this is a long one. Okay. And this is also take. Huh?
Want me to read it?
Oh yes, please. Thank you.
Okay. Black women have been my salvation, but we can't save those who don't want to be saved. In relieving myself of the expectation that I befriend every Black woman, especially ones with issues a mile wide and a soul deep, and relieving other Black women of those expectations, I create the room to receive the wonderful life-sustaining friendships that I'm meant to have. And in choosing not to focus on the one sister who has treated me badly, wonderful sister scholars in this space who have embraced me with open arms and made my journey here a joy. I don't have to succumb to the intra-misogyny that Black women inflict on each other, because in the face of all the Black women who have loved me, I simply know better. So the first great commandment of my Black girl feminism remains, thou shalt love thy sister as thyself. But in being my sister's keeper, I now take the time to know who my sisters are, and I make sure that the relationships I insist on keeping are in fact worth having. A. Most sisters in the family, workspace, the community, and friend circles are easy to love, but what are the sisters that act a fool? How do we call out and call in within the sisterhood? Is there ever a time to pass a sister by?
Dun, 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 dun. Who would like to answer that one?
And talking for 45 minutes.
Going. I can go now.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I think for those who, as you say, act a fool, or is there a time to ever pass a sister by? I think it all depends. I really want to hold the individual capacity that we all bring, including those within the sisterhood. I think that there are some challenging relationships that some people can manage and some that cannot be. I think that I hold myself to the obligation of always doing what I can to maintain a relationship and to at least maintain connection. But that I also want to trust my own sense of capacity of where that relationship fits in my life and whether or not it fits in my life, and to have the flexibility as to whether or not I continue. So, and I also want to hold that, like, I can choose to end a relationship, but still hold care for that person in terms of how I speak of them, in terms of even my own like internal language and dialogue that I have about that person. So I think there's a way to even maintain connection, even if the relationship no longer exists.
Mm-hmm. Cal.
Michelle? Well, I can go. I like that a friend of mine, maybe 2 weeks ago now, I was under this one assumption about myself and my personality, and she was shocked by it. So she started telling me what her view of me, and it took me back. It was just like I could not believe that's what she sees. So I went to a couple other sister friends and I said, you know what somebody said about me? And they all said, I see that too. So I love the fact that I can grow with loving kindness with certain people, because I trust the people that I shared that with. So I love that I wasn't called out, but at the same time I was called in, and that felt really caring. And I like to think of my friendships as a house, and there are people who I let on the steps, there are people who could come up on the porch, then there are people who come in the vestibule. And every once in a while there are people in the kitchen, living room, but everybody don't make it to every room of my house. And there are people that I have to come outside to talk to. I mean, you know, I have a very close relative that can't come in. Just can't come in because I don't want to feel anxious or concerned that there may be an argument, there may be something, and that doesn't work for me because I've seen it in the behavior. But I would like to do what Leonie was saying, is to think of people more kindly even after friendships have ended. I just think that was something I'd like to take away from this conversation, because sometimes when my friendships end, and there haven't ended many friendships, I struggle to not make them so guilty and so such the blame, you know, and to keep the communication open. Just to a point, to say, you know, if we see each other on the street, we can stop and catch up and stuff. So there's nobody I'm going to walk by without speaking to. So I don't think I want to pass any sister by, but self-protection is always my greatest priority. So if you threaten that, then that's when I will walk by.
Well, I agree with you completely, Kim. That's, you know, that's how I feel. This particular question grows out of the blog post, "Is it ever okay to tell a sister to go kick rocks?" Where Brittney Cooper is describing the difficulty that she had making friends with another Black woman on campus. But it also puts me in the mind of the experience that Robin had with the beauty shop, where for no reason that made any sense to her, this woman just didn't like her and wanted to do harm to her. And so to your question, trying to pass the sister by, go kick rocks, I guess. I think there is. When I especially Robin's beauty parlor experience, again made me think about the age range of these writers, because she seemed so surprised that something like that could happen, which I ascribe to her youthfulness, because I think after a while you will have a number of experiences where people, you have a reasonable expectation of sisterliness or brotherliness, will do anything but. And that's just the way it is. And I think that that's the way it is because from my perspective, there is a high degree of mental illness that we're with. And I don't know how it has gotten this bad. I'm really not one given to exaggeration. Well, depending on my mood. But, you know, I see it. I see it a lot, and I don't understand how it's gotten this bad. It's kind of like what's going on you know, with the opioid crises in the white community, it's like people just woke up one day and there was this major crisis going on that, you know, obviously didn't start overnight. And, you know, I remember what was it, the 70s or the 80s when they were starting to deinstitutionalize the mentally ill. So, you know, we've had that kind of a pressure going on. We've got this pressure from the medical community that wants to drug every problem. I don't know. I think that a number of things have converged, that there really are, and you know, and maybe some of it is just natural. I don't know. But I think that whatever is going on, there really are, like I meet so many people these days that will say, I'm bipolar schizophrenic. Really? Well, those behaviors in practice are very destructive to relationship.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. And so going back to what you said, Kim, about needing to protect yourself, you know, as compassionate as I can be and am. In fact, one of the ways that I'm able to hold on to a compassionate feeling after I have passed somebody by is by imagining that, you know, they really may have some mental health problem going on that is bigger than me, that I don't understand. And I don't need to take whatever happened personally. But I still need to protect myself. So, yeah, I think there's time to pass the sister by, and that may not sound like the most compassionate response, but I think it's real.
Hi, everyone. I'm super late.
Hi, Nicole.
You see if I can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
You want to introduce yourself?
Yes. Hi, I'm Nicole Wilson joining from College Station, Texas.
Great.
Welcome.
So let's move on to the next question. Question number 4. Would someone like to read that?
Go ahead without me.
I'm sorry?
If you don't mind my voice, then I can read.
Well, thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
My past experience has taught me that there is no jealousy or competition in the Black beauty salon, no attitude and resentment, just Black girl magic moments and seeing each other beautiful. The beauty shop was one of the few spaces I felt at home away from home. It was a space where I have trusted Black women I didn't know with my unmasked and unfiltered self. Every 2 weeks, I will continue to make my way back to the salon. When I open the door, I will be greeted with the warmth and welcome that radiates from the women who are already there. As Black women, I refuse to give up the necessary experience of sharing intimate space and time, and despite the possibility I will encounter someone who means. Beauty parlors are spaces of Black women love at its finest. Have you ever experienced the Black woman love in beauty shops or other places? Feeling and make it.
That's a really good question. Wow. I could just jump in. So I have experience, it's just kind of like that camaraderie, beauty shops, as a Black woman and being with other Black women. The frustration of kind of being there all day too. I guess you're kind of induced to talk. But I have felt the most Black woman love in one of the most interesting spaces last February, and I'm going to return next year, February 2017, this past February, shall I say. I presented at a conference in Dallas, Texas. It's the African American Studies Association and affiliates. And so it was so interesting for me to feel so much Black woman love. I was just very transparent after I presented my paper. And I, kind of mentioned to them some of the things I've been going through in my graduate program. And, I told them, like, I spent so much time first year thinking about quitting. And I mean, like, some of them were older Black academics. Some of them were younger. I mean, it didn't even matter. They were like, sis, oh no, come, hugging me and giving me cards and encouraging me. And I'm probably romanticizing it, but I was thinking, like, I wonder if this is how I would have felt had I attended like an HBCU. I'm not sure. I'm probably romanticizing that a bit, and wishing I could locate like a utopic space. But having said all that, it is so necessary. I mean, especially right now in these moments, these crazy political moments, we need those spaces that not only produce that Black woman love, but we need those spaces where it can be fostered, and filtered and funneled out in whatever way we can imagine. It is very necessary.
Thanks, Nicole. Anyone else? I can go. I remember when my daughter was smaller, she was taking ballet at the Y, and it was this group of mothers. We were there every Saturday, and the kids would be in this 90-minute class or something. And am I frozen? Uh-oh. I was frozen for a second. Am I okay? You can hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you. I see you.
I hear you and see you fine.
Oh, good. I was frozen for a second. It was just wonderful. We just sat there and talked about raising our kids. The way we can talk about raising our kids. You could just say it. Whatever it is, you just say it. Every once in a while, I was saying to my daughter, "Oh, that girl. Oh, that girl." And it was fine because they got it. And then also, I did have the beauty shop experience. A friend of mine had a beauty parlor around the corner from where I live. And I couldn't wait to be in that place. I think maybe like Thursday nights I'd go. And you'd be there 4 or 5 hours, waiting your turn. And we talked about everything under the sun. And so when you see somebody when the tracks are out or the new growth is there or they getting it cut or braided or whatever, it's just so wonderful to be at home that you didn't have to explain anything. And then the last thing was that I had a sister circle where a friend, she invited, by invitation only, she would invite people to her house the first Saturday of every month. And we would have dinner or something together and just talk about where we were. And it was like therapy. It was just so good that we just kind of talked about anything that we were struggling with or we were celebrating. We could just kind of bring it there. And the faces changed over the years, but I think I was in that circle for at least 5, 6 years, 7 years. It was just something I needed so badly. And I'm the type of person that I join things. I want to be in different communities, and if I find the community doesn't work, I'm out. But I love joining different communities and sharing with people. Here's the only downside to me is that I'm very warm and I'm very giving to a point. And when you cross that threshold with me, I really have to find more diplomacy with saying, yeah, I want you to be all warm and fuzzy and cozy with me, but don't take more than I've offered. And so that's what I have to work on, is communicating better to kind of say, oh, I have a request. could you not ask for more than I have, or more than I'm willing to give? So I'm working on that. So I love the idea of being open to being supportive. And I'll say this one last thing. I was at the eye doctor today, and I decided that I would say hello and how are you to 100 Black women that I didn't know. That's my plan. So I'm up to around woman number 7 or 8. And so I said hello to this woman today, and she wouldn't shut the hell up. She wouldn't shut the hell up. It was as if she was waiting for somebody to talk to. And so she started telling me about the migration of birds. And then she started telling me every awful thing that's happened in the newspaper. And I just said to her, I can't hear any more of the bad news. I just can't. And she couldn't stop. She couldn't stop. She couldn't stop. So I'm going to have to work on finding ways to say, oh, I got to make a phone call outside. I'll be right back. And don't come back. So I don't know. Uh-huh. But I've decided that if I want a sisterhood, I'm going to have to take more positive steps towards other sisters.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Before the next person goes, I just have to share something. I just got word that I'm about to lose internet access.
Oh, no.
So, yeah, they're doing some repair work and they have to shut it down. So, I'm gonna stay. I have a few more minutes. So I just wanted to share that piece.
Oh, okay.
Did you want to share anything?
What was the question again?
Did you want to share anything before you?
In terms of this question is really interesting. This is one of those. So I haven't been one. I don't go to hair salons as an adult. I maybe have been to a hair salon a couple dozen times in all of my adulthood, and I would say that I haven't had the same experience around sisterhood. I think just because I think it might be easier to make friends of different backgrounds, not necessarily white, but different backgrounds. Text. Because I would say that there's certainly, Canada has, as I've mentioned before, has similar histories around racism, but one of the key differences I think is that the level of fear is not. And so I think that's why I feel a greater sense of acceptance around other people. And also there's the newness of things. So a lot of my friends, I would say, are people who are first generation and they go across all racial backgrounds. I don't have a majority of Black, for example. I don't have a majority of any particular group. I don't have such a strong religion. And so this space that we're creating now is the place where I get that. So I just wanted to share that piece.
How does that feel?
It feels amazing and necessary, because part of the reason why I was attracted to this group is that I do recognize that space to be able to speak specifically to my experience as a Black woman. So to be able to have access to that, like, you know, thank goodness we're living in 2017 where it's like, you know, you can connect with anybody wherever they are. And I don't know what my life would be like without connection, because I rely on these kinds of connection, not only for like this book club and what we've built together, but I, you know, even for a lot of my stuff that I get around support around empathy or communication, a lot of that support is done online. I'm not always in this place where I could get that.
Okay, I think she's going out.
So much information that you take in around Blackness just because of colonization. So grateful for that, to have that space, to have this space to be able to do that.
Oh, nice. Thank you, Leonie.
That makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. Y'all were rocking and rolling. Y'all were moving through these questions. Wow.
Well, because
I have missed a wonderful discussion. I hate having to do stuff last minute, throwing my schedule off, but you know,
well, for the first 45 minutes, you know, it was just Kim and I, so.
Oh, okay.
We could talk as long as we wanted to, so.
Okay.
So really, I kind of answered this question earlier talking about my experience with Black Women's Blueprint. And I was talking about being a part of Mother Tongue Monologues event. But just as an organization, it's a membership organization, and they own a house in Brooklyn, you know, but beautiful brick type, 3-story home. So it's like a homey atmosphere. And, you know, with a dining room and a living room, which are designated as the Museum of Women's Resistance. And the whole space is beautifully decorated and appointed with all kinds of art celebrating Black women. There's a cute little kitchen that they use to prepare meals for community events, and a little backyard for barbecues, and they periodically have parties and monthly meetings and or sister circles, and so much stuff grows out of those connections, counseling services and horticulture and alternative medicine and spirituality, and you know, all kinds of different flavors. Oh, is that Leonie going out?
Yeah.
I don't know what that is. Yeah. Leonie?
Yeah, I think we lost her.
I think we lost her. What is the noise? So, you know, I have not specifically experienced the beauty shop, Black woman love experience, mostly because I hate the beauty shop. And learned to hate it as a child, and never wavered from that. from that position. And those long waits that y'all enjoy and drive me crazy. And
right.
The pain involved in becoming beautiful, it's just non-negotiable for me.
I do understand that, Michelle.
So I had to find my Black woman love someplace else.
I know that's right.
Yeah, but it's definitely it's definitely something that we need. And Nicole, when you were talking about, because I remember when you were thinking about quitting the program, and wanting to connect you to somebody because
yes.
Because I know that whether it's Black women or whoever, human beings need social connection.
Yeah.
We really do. I posted this thing, I think yesterday, about white men. And I've heard about a group like this in Canada, but this was an American group. What's it called? The man something. It's about creating this community where men can have the kind of human connection. That people,
Wow.
Yeah, I'm pushing back the loneliness and the depression and all that. And so so I get that we've got some special issues as Black women. We really can only find that reflection in another Black woman. But beyond that, human, and so the society, the world that we live in, has just gotten so bad. I mean, I don't know if it was ever good, but it's just gotten so bad at providing people with what we need as human beings. We're consumers. And anything that you can buy, you can have. But the spiritual nurturing, that really only comes from being in community with other people. They haven't figured out how to put in a bottle and charge you an arm and a leg to get it. And so we don't get it very often, or we have to really make a concerted effort to find it, like Kim was saying, intentionally joining organizations, intentionally looking for the community that we need. Some people get it from the church experience. That never did it for me. But for a lot of people, that is the way. So I don't think it matters where you find it, but that you seek it and you find it, because I think that's the point that we're at, where it's still there, but you do have to actively seek it. Whereas I think in earlier generations, it's more of a built-in, you come into a community and you're, it's there. But we don't have that anymore. So we have to go out and make it happen. Yeah.
Oh, I was trying to talk it. Yeah, that's so true. Wow. So true and so important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So, do you want me to read the final one?
yes.
Oh, do you want me to say?
Yes, Michelle, you gonna say something?
No, I'm done.
Okay. Yes, thank you, Nicole.
Okay. Number 5, correct? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I got my feminism from my mama, even though she doesn't know it, and my grandmother and my auntie. They had a feminism that would fight back and hide behind the mask of smiles or scorn. My mama's feminism was wrapped up in God and respectability politics she could never live up to. She taught me to have mustard seed faith. My grandmama's feminism was housed in her meanness and caution. She carried it with her for emergencies and protection, like the cigarettes in her pockets and the gun in her bra. Me how and when to fight. My aunties held their feminism in their laughter and occasional anger. They used it to cover up pain. They taught me to get mad, but not stay mad. My mothers didn't know they were feminists. They didn't mean to pass it on to me, but they couldn't help it. My mama's feminism is inherited, but unnamed. She taught me how to own my feminism like I own myself. She taught me how to be a feminist by being herself. Let's get poetic. Please take a minute and describe your feminism in 10 sentences. Start each sentence with, my feminism is. That's beautiful. Kim is quite the creative writer. I can see that. I'm thinking about my creative writing professors. That's yes, definitely. I can recognize that. That's really good. These are really good, Kim. They're
Thank you.
wonderful.
I can start.
Okay.
So I have a list. I just wrote 1 to 10, so I'll have to add the sentence to it.
Okay.
My feminism, it's real. My feminism creates itself over and over again. My feminism is alive and growing. My feminism is a learning space. It is a bridge to younger sisters. It's a party sometimes, a slow dance around the blues. My feminism is resistance. My feminism is community. My feminism is personal power and self-care. And finally, my feminism will cut you if you push too hard for too long.
I know, that's right. Wow, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. May I just quickly interject, like reading this portion? There's so much that stands out for me because it takes me right back to slave narratives and the notion of like we start seeing that caricature of the very strong, dutiful Black woman, this symbol of strength. And in many ways, she's dehumanized as a result of that. But I got stuck where she says, my mothers didn't know they were feminists. That is so powerful to me. So obviously I'm thinking, I love the way she just called them mothers. Like there were no distinctions like my grandmother, my great-grand. They were all just called mothers.
Mm-hmm.
very, very touching for me. I'm still wrapping my mind around that. Just beautiful. Wow. Well, I guess I'll follow up. I didn't write mine down yet, so let me just try not to. Let me just call it what it is. So, in 10 sentences, my feminism is truth and speaking truth to power. My feminism is raw. My feminism is Southern, Black, working class, affiliated. My feminism is advocacy. My feminism can be laced with some academic language and some cues in between. My feminism is a rubric for Black girls and Black girlhood studies. My feminism is evolving. My feminism is a definition of where I am and where I stand spiritually. My feminism is, it's a portal, and it keeps taking me back to Black women's studies and transnational, I would even say, Black women's studies. And finally, my feminism is that thing that allows me to theorize and critically understand other Black women, seek to understand myself. Maybe it's womanism.
Go ahead, Nicole. That was wonderful. Wow.
Wow.
That was outstanding.
Well, not only do I not want to follow those two performances, I did not write mine down either, Nicole. I don't even know how to answer the question. I really don't. That this particular piece, though, this post was, I thought, resonated with me quite deeply, in that it made me think about my mother, who would never ever wear the label feminist, but that's where I learned my feminism. Her mother. My mother, one of the things that she did, she followed my father around the country for years as the church moved him from place to place, and they packed and and went wherever the call was to go. Finally, in the mid 70s, I believe it was, she got a job working for the public school system in Jersey City. And when she got the job, we were living in Jersey City. And shortly thereafter, my father got transferred to Trenton, which is 60 miles away. And my mother said she was going to keep her job. And she drove for 6 years, 120 miles a day to and fro work, to and fro Jersey City and Trenton, because she was not going to have her career interrupted anymore. And around. And she knew that she needed her independence. And she did that for 6 years. And he eventually got transferred back to Newark, which is much closer to Jersey City. But shortly after he got transferred to Newark, he passed away. And my mother was then in the position of, you know, having, I don't know if she had tenure at that point, but she had several years established with the school district, and she ended up staying on that job for close to 30 years.
Wow.
And she was able to take care of herself even after he passed, and, you know, long after the little bit of insurance money he left behind ran out. And, you know, and that was my mother. She didn't talk a lot of shit. She hated conflict, really feared it, I believe. But she always did just what she wanted to do. So that was
she found a way, Michelle, to make it happen.
She made it happen. She made it happen.
Yes.
And my mother, who was much louder, probably more like me, her mother had 3 brothers. So she taught me that a girl needs a frying pan in order to knock those boys upside the head. And she had 3 husbands. Count them 3. Back at a time when women really weren't doing a whole lot of that.
Right.
That was her, you know. The road, Jack.
Wow.
Oh my goodness. I know that's right. Wait, now I can clearly see the link, Michelle. I see the link. I know that's right.
So my feminism is very independent. Very.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah, I love my freedom. You know, it's just a non-negotiable for me. You know, I don't even understand how women get themselves into a lot of situations that they get into.
Right.
I just would never be there. And, you know, my feminism grows out of the experience of growing up as the only girl with 3 brothers, and seeing the kind of disparity that's just inculcated from a very young age. So my feminism is very defiant, rebellious, and you know, but I don't think it's loud or argumentative. You know, it's just like, it just is. You know, I'm not going to argue with anybody about whether or not I'm a human being. I'm not going to argue with anybody about whether or not I have the freedom to make decisions about what happens with my life. I'm not going to argue with anybody about those kinds of things. So, you know, it just is. It feels very natural for me, which is why I guess I get, you know, a lot of Black men that like to clap back against feminism, like to suggest that, you know, Black women are just being led around by white women. And I'm very resentful of that, because, you know, I know for me, my feminism is homegrown. You know, it comes directly out of my personal experiences. And, you know, and very much like Robin Boylorn describes in this blog, you know, I had it going into the academic experience, and the academic environment gave me a language.
Yes.
To describe, what I was already feeling and how I was already acting and reacting. And so, so I'm very resentful of that argument, because it feels to me like they want to erase the reality of Black women's.
Yes.
So it's homegrown, and it's homegrown in a Black context.
That is so true. Organic. That's so beautiful.
And it's my feminism seeks to and our understanding of what it means, because I really don't believe that there should be such antagonism toward the word. And so that the fact that there is tells me that we have some very different ideas about what it means. And so, I hope that a part of what I'm doing with my life is helping to bring some clarity to something that I think has intentionally been muddied. So that's probably not him, but that's what you got for now.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
I thought it was
Wow.
excellent. I borrowed one of your lines. I'm going to add to mine, that homegrown.
Yes, that was beautiful. Yes,
so we have about
yes.
a little bit over. And so I was just wondering if we could just take another few minutes. If anybody wanted to say anything before we close. And we got all the questions done. Woo!
Right. Wow. Wow. I missed it.
Well, I miss Benita being here. She wanted to join tonight, but she kind of got hung up being the babysitter. And so
and I wanted to it's probably connected to that. I know we were starting an hour earlier because of my schedule. I really appreciate you all for that. My classes have ended, so if if I know next week we're closing out the book, but if you all want to meet at our regularly scheduled time next week, that is definitely doable for me. And thank goodness, next semester I was able to make sure that I don't have Tuesday evening classes. So, which is. Yeah. So, and maybe that'll, if you could communicate that to Benita, maybe that'll be of, a greater assistance next week. I mean, if we want to go to the regularly scheduled time, we can.
Yeah, I think I'd rather keep it at 5, just because.
Okay.
We said we were going to do the.
That's right. Extended
session.
Right. That's
extended
right.
session. And so if we start at 6:30, then the extended session would probably be too late for me, since I got to get up and go to work.
Okay, that's right. We are doing that.
Yeah, but I will be glad next session to go back to 6:30.
Okay, that makes sense. Mm-hmm.
Definitely, yeah.
Works for me.
I love this chapter on the joys and the pains of sisterhood. There were two other really poignant that the one on domestic violence,
Mm-hmm.
and then the one on sex. So I know we can't talk about everything.
I felt like we covered sex last week or the week before, and the domestic violence. It felt more like, I know that happens to sisters, but if we're talking about the sisterhood, it just seemed like I could pick that blog post up and move it somewhere. But you're right. It was amazing to then go to find those stories and read those stories about those women. I learned a lot about what's going on with us from this book. I didn't know about that story.
Yeah, I didn't know the was it Jovan Belcher, the football player, who committed a murder-suicide. And I was reading something, but I only because I don't follow sports at all. I don't follow celebrities at all. And so anything, and I think that happened in 2013. And, I have much bigger problems going on than what was happening in life at that point. But it just, so one of the articles that I was reading, someone who was close to him was talking about the brain damage or whatever that he had sustained as a football player. And that surely must be the reason that this man that he had known as this gentle, kind, loving person turned into this monster who shot his girlfriend or baby's mama 9 times and killed himself. But it goes back to what I was saying earlier about, is there ever a time to tell a sister to go kick rocks? And I was talking about the mental illness that's going on. Sometimes things are just bigger than us, bigger than us. And, I think women very often have this tendency to think we can just, change another human being or love them into, a healthy space. But I think it's important that we learn to recognize our limitations.
Yes.
And protect ourselves.
That's right.
As best we can.
I think that's a good note to stop the recording.
Yeah. You're muted, Nicole. Were you saying something?
Oh no, I was agreeing. So Kim was saying that the recording was getting ready to stop. No, I was agreeing.
Okay. All right, well, let me stop the broadcast. And for anyone following us, we will see you next week, our final week on this book, the Crunk Feminist Collection. What's the chapter? Self-care.
Yeah, Audre Lorde.
Yes. Full circle for me. I get to come back to Audre Lorde, mother.
Yes. So Nicole was going to take us through that. So we will see you then. story
self-care.
together.
Thus saith the Lord.
Thus saith the Lord.
Thus
Hey.
saith the Lord.
Yeah, depression, gynecologist, loving ourselves, radical empathy. Oh, wow. Excellent. How to say
Yes,
no
yes,
and when
yes.
to say yes. All right.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to stop the broadcast.